Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at Hayat Shamali, Syria. Huways, Shamali, Syria, 2017. It's a nice simple map, and essentially what we've got here are ISIS units fighting Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which South Front reminds us was formerly Jabhat al-Nusra, the Syrian branch of al-Qaeda. I think it's interesting that all this is still continuing on, and that ISIS is still making attacks with the intention of gaining ground, and the war is still continuing, although it's now declared over in Iraq. It's continuing in Syria. I mean, I can't imagine it will go on for much longer. They're just such bitty things. But these two terrorist organisations, or so-called terrorist organisations, widely acknowledged as such, are fighting each other. And when we got permutations like that, it always intrigues me. We went through a stage when the whole conflict was becoming incredibly complex, with Turkey, Russia, Syria, and all the rebels, etc., and all the other Kurds, etc., all combined into this single sort of thing. So here we have these two organisations. Now, it's a very simple map. I much prefer this smaller map, to be quite honest. So it's so much easier to do and also to think about and play. But the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham are these units with the thing over them. And there's a little error there, so I'm going to replace it. 1 minute. Yes, so these areas, these units are now Hayat Tahrir al-Sham units. Let's just get the little drawing tool out. So essentially, if you can't quite see it, it sort of goes like that. So this is the Hayat, and down here, obviously a little clearer, we've got ISIS, and then here we've got Syria. Now these are non-combatants, and so essentially the ISIS units are pushing in to take this sort of ground here, which is a nice compact little area including these hills, and essentially the way I've envisaged sort of modelling this is to actually, these are all sort of what I would consider maybe static units, and here we have the task group for ISIS, which is fairly large, and here we've got a response group for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and so these are the units that I'm going to consider being active. Obviously the Syrians are not active, and the rest of these units I'm going to simply consider to hold the ground, and I'm going to play it sort of that way. Now the thing to bear in mind is that these are all irregular units, and I haven't put any other units in there, because the regulars are quite good at fighting, but they're not very good at holding ground, and to some extent, from my point of view, it's just a little exercise in how effective can that be. And just to maybe recap on some of the fundamentals, I mean, these are irregular units, and they're supposed to represent irregular forces in what we call asymmetric warfare. And generally speaking, they're quite good at doing things by surprise, attacking people when at their choosing, but they're not very good at holding ground. And once both Syria and Iraq got their armies together, ISIS and all the other sort of rebel groups, unable really to hold the ground. They can hold it with some damage, but they can't really fight. It's not a symmetrical war, so they end up holding out in towns and cities. So we're going to see how that sort of works. I mean, I've been playing with these irregulars for a long time now, but in this scenario, I think it's sort of, for some reason, it seems to be a little more apparent. So start off with, ISIS are going to make their move. I don't know what the strategy is going to be, but I think we're going to go for the hill first. Which movement is there left? 3. Now, the defence of these is going to be about 2, I imagine. Let's see what this looks like. So if they're at 2, and I can get in 2 of those at 5 to 1, I can have 2 against that, 2 against that, and that might be a good position to start off with. So let's just move through here. And here. Now I've done it there. Because I don't want to give them a free attack. They could, if I was there, they could join up and attack into them. If they want to, if this unit wants to come out and attack, they'll have to leave their defensive position in the hills, which would suit me fine. So that leaves me nicely prepared. Now these are all static defences. So let's see how this works. So it should be a 5 to 1. Yeah, we've got DE. But because they're another thing about the regulars, because they're regulars, they just retreated. They only get eliminated on 25%. There's a 25% chance that DE will actually have an effect. But we don't have any movement left, but it doesn't matter. Another DE, and they've retreated into the hills. And again, no movement left. So now they did take depressions from those. That's the only difference from a while back. So this unit, I think they're going to move back in. I mean, it's not ideal, but that's interesting, because the obvious thing there would be to attack. So this should be, one of these is depressed, so that should be about 15 versus 2. So that could be another 7 to 1. And I will say it's going to be a 6 to 1. Can't really say. 7 to 1 and a DE, and both units are retreated over there. Now there's no point in them advancing. I don't want to move them out of the hills, and I'm not sure I want to attack, but I might as well because I've committed myself to moving. So this should be a 2 to 1. And a defender retreat. So both the ISIS attacks were repulsed. Giving them 2 in defence here has been a major boost for the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham side. So I might give either of them less or give the ISIS units a few more to sort of balance that out. So both sides have now taken losses. Thinking aloud. Hello. Okay, well, we've pushed them back again, and this time we have some movement. And here. 3 to 1 and a DR. It's quite an interesting dynamic, really, because both sides are good at attacking, and every time they attack, there's a greater chance that they'll succeed, but they're not very good at defending. Depression 1, depression 1. He's on depression 3. Ooh, 0.1 movement means he can continue the fight. And I think we really have no option but to try and follow on against these units. 5 to 1 and a DE, great result. And that's resulted in this one now being at depression 5 and this one at depression 3, depression 1. And we hold the objective, we hold this objective, we've got some movement, we could go into there, but that will be, they're going to be heavily defended in there. I mean, not counting fatigues, it's going to be 2, tripled for the hill, doubled for the hills, 4, doubled for being entrenched, 8. So those hills are going to be a toughie. Well, I don't think they have much choice. They've got to try and continue this fight. And it could possibly be worth moving this depressed unit to there. If I commit him to a battle, he'll lose his entrenchment, and I don't want that. Oh, an exchange. Depression 5. Depression 1. Okay, they're getting there. And here. Oh, they did the business. Depression 4. One more go. An exchange. That's not good. Okay, we still have some movement. DE and dice roll of 2, so let's push them over there with a depression of 8, and I think we might be able to hold these hills in relatively good order. I don't think anybody coming back. But here we've run out of movement. Okay. I think this is going to be the last move, and it's going to be in one way or another a decisive one, because that unit is basically out of the game, but these two units are relatively fresh. But these two ISIS units are 50% strength, and these are relatively fresh. These are 50, and these are 30. So they're moderately tired and 50%. So what they do this turn will have a big effect. Now they'll probably get a DE on this unit here, and that's pretty much all they can go for. Or, yeah, because we could get a rout. DE. What about against that unit? It'll be worth a 2. Let's go for it. I've never seen that before. Oh, I know. Oh, I don't know. Oh, yes. I know why that happened. Because it wasn't actually in my hex. I was trying to fight him out of the hex. If we go back and look at that, there's nothing in that hex. And to be quite honest, I've never actually seen that situation before, because you can't attack an empty hex. So that was strange. I'm not even going to try and fix that yet, but hopefully I'll remember, which means I probably won't. A DR. So we managed to push both these units back, giving them greater depression factors. So this unit is now almost as depressed as this unit, and it's the ISIS turn. Now, I think we're going to have to have a go at this. I think everything's going to fall on this. If we can take this, we're in luck. DR. Well, I think that was us being in luck. Because we now hold the hills. And perhaps we should have done that earlier. A DE that pushed that unit there. Depression 7, Depression 3. Let's see what we can do here. DE. Oh, he's got depression 1, so he can move ahead. Depression 3, depression 5. Him there, him there, him there. Let's see what we can do here. ISIS have lost their first unit. Which I think pretty much means that ISIS lose. However, that said, enough movement to move into there. That said, I will be modifying the. I'm going to give the ISIS 2 more units, I think, because obviously they do have the edge. I think the because what was sort of actually happening now, although we got these units entrenched, and ISIS Hayat Tahrir al-Sham have units entrenched. When you add them up, they had one there, one there, one there. That's 3. We've also got that one, we didn't use that, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we were actually fighting 4 units against 5. And if you add this one in as total defence, that would be 6. So I think I just need 2 more units to even just make that even. I mean, that's not considering all these other units that could possibly have been in that fight. I enjoyed that game. I'm not going to take it any further because I think it would be silly. I don't like to take them, once you've got the general gist of things. I mean, yes, they could possibly, with a bit of luck, win. ISIS could possibly win. But, historically, this is current news, so it's not really history, but, historic in the past sense. ISIS win, and obviously they choose their battles so that they have an advantage. So I think I'm going to reflect that. But I enjoy these little games. There's as much thinking in one of these as anything else, and they're so much quicker and easier to do. With a smaller board. I was looking at some old newspapers and have some old chess games in there. You hardly ever see that sort of stuff anymore. I'm waiting for one where I can see the quadratic equations, because they used to have those in newspapers, and the whole fact that you don't do that, you don't see that anymore, I think reflects the sort of absolute decline in analytical thinking that is in the mainstream media, so to speak. I mean, even chess games are just not really in regular papers, and this to me is like a little chess puzzle. Checkmate, 5 moves, whatever. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoy that. If you fancy a game on that, then just sign up and give it a whirl. I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.